Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this hooded scarf. This is very easy to do, very easy for beginners to create. It's basically just a scarf with a long rectangle attached. I'm going to start with the black yarn, so I'm going to make a slip knot. I'm going to take the tail, wrap it twice around my finger, take the inner loop, pull it over the outer loop, and then take the outer loop, pull it over and off my finger, and then I'm going to slide my hook onto it, and then pull tight. Make sure the tail is long enough that it can be weaved in later. Then I'm going to chain 18. So 1, 2, 3, 'So this is to create the base of the scarf. If you want your scarf to be wider, you can add more chains. Just make sure you're chaining an even number. And then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each chain. So I'm going to skip the first chain next to the hook and do a single crochet in the second chain. So I'm inserting into the top loop of the chain, and then I'm pulling up a loop, and then I'll yarn over and pull through. And I'll just repeat that for every chain stitch. And then when I get to the end of row 1, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, so I'm going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. So I'm skipping the chain stitch, except I'm going to use the single crochet to switch colors. So I'm going to stop halfway through the single crochet when there's 2 loops on the hook. So I'm going to go into the first stitch, the second stitch from the hook, pull up a loop, and stop right there. And then I'm taking the red yarn, I'm going to put that on the hook and pull through, making sure the tail is long enough that it can be woven in later. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in the next stitch. So make sure to carry along and crochet over the unused black yarn. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, making sure I'm crocheting over the black yarn like this. See, I'm holding the black yarn against the stitches so it can be crocheted over. And then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'll skip a stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, making sure to crochet over the unused black yarn. And then chain 1, and then skip a stitch, single crochet in the next stitch. And I'll just keep repeating that down the row. So chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet. And then when there's 3 stitches left in the row, I'm going to switch colors in the next single crochet. So I'm going to start the single crochet and not finish it. I'll stop when there's 2 loops left on the hook. Pick up the black and pull the black tight. And that's just to make sure that the black isn't bunching up in between the red stitches. And then before using the black to finish the stitch, I'm gonna take the red strand over the black strand like this and pull it to the front. So you want it to be over top of the red strand, and then I'll pick up the black strand and use that to finish the stitch. And then I'm not going to crochet over the red anymore. I'm just going to drop it in front, and then I'll do a single crochet in the last stitch of the row with the black. And then that's the second row finished. And then for the third row, I'm going to chain 1 and then turn, and then I'll single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, which is the first stitch of the row. And then before single crocheting in the next stitch, I'm going to pull up the red yarn from behind so I can carry it along and crochet over it. So I'm going to go into the next stitch to single crochet, make sure I'm crocheting over the red yarn, this, and then I'm going to do a single crochet in the chain one space. So I'm going to go under all of the red in the chain one space here and work a single crochet. And I'm just going to keep repeating that down the row. So the next stitch was the single crochet, so I'm going to go into that and work a single crochet. The next one was a chain space. I'm going to go into the chain space, work a single crochet. And then at the end of the row, I'm going to pull the red yarn tight to make sure it's not bunching up in the stitches. And then that's the end of the third row. And then to start the fourth row, I'll chain one and then turn. And then I'm going to start a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, so the first stitch of the row. And I'm going to make sure I'm pulling up the red from behind so I can crochet over it. Except I'm going to use the single crochet to switch colors. So I'm going to stop halfway through the single crochet when there's 2 loops remaining. So I'm making sure I'm crocheting over the red. And when there's 2 loops remaining, I stop. I'm going to pull the red tight and then drop the black. Pick up the red, finish the stitch. And then I'll single crochet in the next stitch using the red. Make sure I'm crocheting over the unused black yarn. And then chain one, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain one, skip a stitch, single crochet, same as before. So skip a stitch, single crochet, and then chain one, skip a stitch, single crochet. When I get to the end, the last 3 stitches, I'm going to work a single crochet into the second one. So I just chained one, and then I'll skip a stitch, single crochet, except I'm going to use this single crochet to switch colors. So I'm going to stop when there's 2 loops remaining on the hook. And then I'm going to pull the black yarn tight before I switch colors. And then I'll pull the red yarn over the black yarn, like that, just to make sure that once the stitch is complete, it's held in front of the work. And then I'll pick up the black yarn and finish the stitch. And then I'm going to make sure the red yarn is just hanging in front. I'm not going to crochet over it. And then I'll single crochet in the last stitch. And so yeah, so that's the pattern for the scarf. So you're just going to keep repeating rows 3 and 4 with the black and the red yarn for as long as you'd like your scarf to be. I made my scarf long enough to reach about to my waist, so it can wrap around my neck to my back and hang there comfortably, especially over a jacket or tying to a knot. The whole thing is about 50 inches long or 127 centimeters. I think this is too many rows to count. So I think just if you want to follow my exact dimensions, go for it, or else make it as long as you'd like it to be. Once the scarf is as long as you'd like it to be, cut the yarn loose and then pull the tail through the double crochet loop to fasten off. So once the scarf is as long as you'd like it to be, it's time to start the hood. So the hood will be made, will look like a rectangular piece at the start. So it's going to be crocheted directly onto the edge of the scarf, and then once the rectangular piece is made, it will be turned into a hood. Okay, so I have the scarf around my neck evenly on each side. I'm going to try to figure out where I want the hood to rest. I want the hood to start somewhere down here, a little further away from my face. So because the scarf is flush against my neck and my neck is further, the back of my head rests further out than my neck, the actual hood, when this is finished, will be something more like this. So yeah, so I want the hood to start a little further down the scarf, further away from my face, so it's not too small. So the hood will rest somewhere a little bit out here. So I'm going to take my fingers, pinch the scarf like this to where I want the hood to start, and then take it off. And so the hood will occupy that much of the scarf. So the hood is going to occupy about 19 inches or 48 centimeters total of the scarf. And that's going to be about 69 rows. If you're going to use less rows or more rows of the scarf than me, just make sure that you're choosing an odd number. So I'm going to fold the scarf in half and then measure about 9.5 inches from the folded end, or that's 24 centimeters, and for me that's about 34 rows. So I'm measuring that away from the folded end towards the end of the scarf in this direction. And then I put some stitch markers in to hold the place so that I can start crocheting it. And then I'm going to take the black yarn and make one row of single crochets starting at one paper clip to the other paper clip. And then I'll start doing the red and black pattern again up the hood. So I'm going to be using gray yarn just because black stitches don't show up very well on camera. And then when I'm done this, I'm going to switch back to black because I do want this scarf to be black and red. But yeah, so don't be confused about why I'm using gray. Okay, so you're going to want to start with the larger red stitches facing you. So see how this side, the stitches are larger than on this side? So I'm going to be crocheting this way with the larger stitches facing me. And then I'm going to take the black yarn and attach that to the edge of the scarf. So I'm going to go into the same row that the safety pin is in. Oh, notice also how I'm attaching to the black edge of the scarf, the fully black edge, just so that the stitches, it'll be a little more seamless because we're not all of a sudden disrupting this like pattern. It's just all black, so it'll stay all black. So I'm gonna attach the black yarn to my hook and pull through. Make sure the tail's long enough. And then I'm gonna chain one. And then I'm gonna single crochet into the same spot where I just insert the yarn. And then I'm going to try to do one single crochet in each row of the scarf until I reach the other safety pin. So I'm just going into the stitch at the end of the row. So I've completed this row of single crochets. I have a single crochet from safety pin to safety pin. And now I'm basically just going to repeat rows 2, 3, and 4 that we did at the start of the scarf, but I'll show you the beginning and end of them if you'd like to see it done in a bigger context, like for the hood. So to start the second row of the hood, I'm going to chain one and then turn. And then I'll do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, so the first stitch of the row, and this will be a stitch where I switch colors, so I'm going to stop with 2 loops remaining on the hook. And then I'm pulling up my red yarn, and I'm going to use that, attach it to the hook, use it to finish the stitch. And then using the red yarn, I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch, making sure to crochet over the unused black yarn. And then I'm going to chain 1 and then skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet. So I'm skipping, I just chained 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet, and then chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, and repeat that until the end of the row. Okay, when I get to the end of the row, I'm going to use my last single crochet with red to switch colors. So I'm going to stop when there's 2 loops remaining and then pull the black tight. Might be easier if you pull tight while you're crocheting along the row instead of doing one long one at the end. And then I'm going to switch to the black to finish the row. Before I do that, once again, I'm going to pull the red over the black yarn like this, and then pull up the black to finish the row, and then I'll do a single crochet with black, and I'm not going to crochet over the red, so the red's just going to be hanging in front, and then chain 1 and then turn. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And then I'm going to pull up the red to crochet over it. Single crochet in the next stitch. Making sure I'm crocheting over the red. And then single crochet in the chain space. And just keep repeating that down the row. So when I get to the end of the row, I'm just going to keep crocheting. I'm just going to keep crocheting over the red for the whole thing. And then that's the end of the 3rd row. So to start the 4th row, I'm going to chain 1 and then turn. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, which is the first stitch of the row, making sure that I'm pulling up the red so I can crochet over it. And I'm going to use this single crochet to switch colors. So I'm going to stop when there's 2 loops on the hook, and then grab the red, use it to finish the stitch. And then using the red, I'm going to do a single crochet in the next stitch, making sure to crochet over the black, and then chain 1, and then skip a stitch, single crochet. And just keep repeating that down the row. Okay, so when I get to the end of the 4th row, I'm going to use the last single crochet with red to switch colors. And like usual, I'm going to pull the red over the black yarn before switching, and then do a single crochet with the black yarn while leaving the red yarn hanging in front. And that's the end of the 4th row. So you're just going to keep repeating rows 3 and 4 for the height of the hoodie. And I'm going to switch back to black, so don't be confused when the final hoodie comes out black and red instead of black, gray, and red. So the hood should be about 12.5 inches tall from the first red row. That is about 32 centimeters, or for me that was 44 rows. And make sure the last row is red because I'm going to use black to close up the hood. I'm going to show you the way this fits. Just know that it's going to look a little weird because the top hasn't been closed yet. It's going to look very like rectangular, but that will be fixed soon. So yeah, so I'm going to end up closing the top like this. This is about how tall I want it to be. Because it is tied with a scarf, it's a little adjustable, but it's not super important that you get this exactly right. But yeah, so. Okay, so I realize it's a little hard to see the black, but hopefully you can picture the stitches because you've already done the whole project with them. So I finished the last row of red with black like you usually would. So I'm not going to be using red anymore, so I'm going to cut it off, leaving a long enough tail that I can weave it in. I'm going to close the top of the hood. So I've taken the hood and folded it in half. So the larger red stitches are on the outside. And then using the black yarn, I'm gonna work single crochets across both of these rows to close it. So I'm basically going to do the exact same thing I was doing with the black rows, except I'm going to be working into both halves of the hood. So I'm going to go into the first stitch on one side and the first stitch on the other side. So both of those should be black. And then work a single crochet. Go into the next stitch, do the same thing. And then the next stitch is a chain space. I'm going to go into the chain space. Yeah, just repeat that down the row. Okay, so I finished single crocheting across the row. I did the last single crochet in the last red stitch here. And then to fasten off, I'm just gonna cut the black yarn and then pull this through. So I've turned the hood inside out. This is what it should look like. So the inside, the stitch should be much smoother than the outside. And yeah, so all that's left to do is to weave in all the ends and then to block this.